the victim of dark sorcery. Lisa and I had been acquainted since childhood, growing up in the same neighborhood, but I regarded her merely as a friend. Love, as they say, unexpectedly came knocking. As I was finishing college, I was dating another girl. Lisa invited us to her birthday party. Suddenly, it was as if I saw her for the first time and fell in love at the 10,000th glance. Indeed, such things happen. Lisa occupied all my thoughts. I couldn't imagine how I had lived without her, how I had slept peacefully when she wasn't by my side. I showered her with gifts, gave her flowers, and 6 months later, we applied for a marriage license. After the wedding, we decided to venture into the wilderness near the White Sea. My old car was perfectly suited for such a journey. And so, on a beautiful day, we packed our belongings into the trunk and set off on the open road. Needless to say, the views from the car windows, the landscapes at different times of day and in any weather, were incomparable to what we could see through the airplane's portholes. We traversed the vast expanses of our homeland, agreeing that from now on, we would only travel by car. Our blog was filled with hundreds of magnificent photos of rivers and lakes, forests and mountains, sunsets and sunrises. On the third day, we left Zelenoborsk and headed for Kandalaksha, but halfway there, a storm caught up with us. The gusts of wind were so strong that the wet road made the car skid. I drove slowly, fearing I might lose control. Suddenly, Lisa touched my shoulder. Alashenka, look. There's a sign. The name of the village is unreadable. Half of it is broken off. But there are pictures of a bed and food. It's only 3 kilometers away. We should turn towards the forest. There must be a holiday camp there. I found her reasoning logical and turned onto a dirt road. It seemed to me that we had driven more than 3 kilometers, but there was no sign of accommodation. To add to our troubles, the road was blocked by a fallen spruce. Lisa looked at me bewilderedly. No signal. I said, "It's okay. If there's a road, there must be accommodation. Let's move forward. At least a kilometer. Either there will be houses, or the signal will appear." It was getting dark. Turning around was impossible, and there was no way back. We climbed out of the car, crawled under a thick tree trunk, hoping it wouldn't crush us, and set off in search of the promised hotel listed on the sign. Literally, after 100 meters, the trees parted, and before our eyes stood a 2-story mansion with columns built in the style of noble estates. It was surrounded by simpler houses and outbuildings. We cheered up and hurried to the door of the mansion. An ancient old lady opened them for us and led us inside without asking any questions. At her call, several people, by their age, her grandchildren or great-grandchildren, appeared. At least that's what I thought. There was something common in their appearance. Facial features, build, eye color. The old lady must have been nearly 100 years old, and the 2 men and 2 women were between 30 and 40. They could have been hotel staff. They could have been, but the owners of the house knew nothing about any hotel. After listening to us, one of the men explained, "It's the weekend, and nobody will come here to clear the road until Monday. We don't have the tools to remove the ancient spruce. Special equipment is needed. Yes, there's no signal here. The landline is silent too, and as you can see, there are candles burning all over the house. The electricity is out. Probably the trees fell in different places and cut the wires. If there's no power by Monday, I'll ride a horse to the city and call for help. But for now, make yourselves comfortable. Dinner is ready. A guest bedroom awaits you. Lisa and I were so hungry and tired that we didn't hesitate. After eating, we went up to the room assigned to us on the second floor and fell asleep, barely reaching the bed. We slept until almost noon. The day turned out to be cloudy, and the rain prevented us from leaving the house. When we descended to the dining room, there was only the old lady, Anisha. There was only the old lady, Anisha, there. She fed us and took us to see the house, telling its history. Money solves all problems at all times. The mansion was built in the turbulent 90s, according to the plans of a noble family nest. They brought here family portraits, a library preserved during the wars, and the valuables were just used for construction. So the diamonds hidden in the piggy bank not only allowed the descendants of the once famous family to survive, but also to avoid poverty. In the closets, amidst the books, an array of magical items were arranged. Multicolored candles, mostly black, skulls and bones, bowls, crystals, crystal balls, pendants, dolls, masks, decks of cards. Lisa listened and nodded. How fascinating. You're lucky. As for me, although I haven't experienced deprivation, I never knew my parents. I was adopted when I was very young. I stared at my beloved. Lisa, you never told me about this. She shrugged. Why? What difference would it make? I couldn't find words to object. And Lisa continued. As I walk through the rooms, I feel like I've been here before. Some kind of déjà vu. Anisha took Lisa's hand. Come, let me show you something. The old lady led us to the portrait gallery and lifted a candle holder to one of the paintings. Among the dim portraits, the face of a woman stood out, incredibly similar to Lisa, but about 20 years older. It could have been said that she was her mother. The old lady informed us, "My granddaughter, may she rest in peace. Unforgettable Sophia. Do you know how many relatives each person can have? Over a century? Taking average indicators, there can be over 100. But what if you, Lisa, indeed have the same roots as us? Let's find out." I chuckled nervously. How? Shall we do a genetic analysis? The old lady smiled. No. Let's have a seance. Have you ever consulted fortune tellers? Do you believe in magic? For some reason, Lisa blushed and shook her head negatively. But the idea seemed interesting to me. Such a thing had never been done in our blog. Summoning the spirits of the dead. Wow. I answered for both of us. Excellent. We agree. When do we start? Anisha waved her hand. Oh, Alexei. Spirits. Come at night. And we need to wait for the others. The three of us won't manage. We spent time in the library, studying the rich selection of occult literature. In the closets, apart from books, an array of magical items were arranged. Multicolored candles, mostly lacs, skulls and bones, bowls, crystals, crystal balls, pendants, dolls, masks, decks of cards, knives, hourglasses, and many items whose names remain. Honestly, I wasn't too interested in rummaging through this junk. But Lisa showed admirable curiosity and got so carried away that I felt offended. My fiancé seemed to have forgotten about my existence. After midnight, all the family members joined us. Drawing aside the heavy curtains, they brought in a carved empire-style table with a circle drawn on paper and brought out a white saucer. They opened the window in the bay to allow, as Anisha explained, the spirit to enter the house unhindered. The portrait of the late Sophia was brought from the gallery and hung instead of the mirror. The candles burned steadily until the participants touched the saucer and called out 3 times. "Spirit of Sophia, are you here?" Suddenly, a gust of wind slammed the shutters shut. The glass rattled. The saucer trembled, floated around the circle, and spelled out, "Yes." The old woman stared at Lisa and asked the next question. "Spirit of Sophia, what do you say about Lisa?" The saucer began to spin again between the letters and formed the phrase, "Give her to me." Immediately after that, all the candles went out simultaneously, and a prolonged groan echoed through the room. Lisa screamed and rushed away. I followed her, and the other participants of the seance followed us. My beloved was crying in the bedroom. I comforted her, reassuring her that what had happened was a silly joke, and that we would leave here immediately. Where to? Well, I don't know. Not immediately, but in the morning. How far to the highway? 7 kilometers. 10. Nonsense. We'll get there in a couple of hours. We'll rent a room in a hotel and a tow truck will bring our car. We went to bed without undressing. Just washed up and drank water to calm down. I fell asleep instantly, as if the lights had been turned off. Waking up was agonizing. Struggling to open my eyes, I found myself tied up on the floor in a stone cellar. Torches were burning on the walls. In the middle of the cellar, on a raised platform, lay Lisa in a white dress. 5 figures in black robes gathered around her. Anisha was leading the assembly. I listened. The old woman addressed, "Lisa, you brought the vessel for Sophia's soul. Let's fill it." Noticing that I had regained consciousness, the old woman turned to me. "Alexei, accept your fate. Do you think you fell in love with her just like that? She enchanted you. She's ours, a witch. You were supposed to bring her here. We've been waiting for you for many years, and now the prophecy has come true." I couldn't move, but I could respond. "Don't you dare touch her." The old woman chuckled. "We don't need witnesses, but we need a sacrifice. We'll exchange Sophia's soul for yours. Accept it, like a man." The figures began to move in a rhythmic dance, chanting incomprehensible words. Above Lisa, a dense white cloud appeared, enveloping her in mist, like a shroud. The voices chanting spells grew louder. The dance gained tempo, and the insane family produced knives and leaned over Lisa. I writhed on the floor, unable to help her. They simultaneously ran knives over their wrists and held their hands over the bowl. Then they tilted the vessel over Lisa. A bloody stain began to spread on her dress, and the mist began to dissipate. From it came the words, "Too late. The sacrifice is accepted. I won't return." Lisa lay unconscious. I fell into oblivion. Once again, I awoke from a heavy slumber. I sat in the car. I sat in the city, sprawled. The city sprawled. The car parked in front of the hospital. I stepped out, and a guard immediately approached me. "Don't worry. Your girlfriend is fine. She had a miscarriage. It happens. You'll have another baby. You're young. Everything will work out. Come, I'll take you to her." Lisa was engulfed in white sheets. She lifted herself slightly as I approached. "Alexei, forgive me. I wanted to tell you later. This unborn child saved us. You. If Sophia had occupied my body, they would have killed you, but the miscarriage disrupted the ritual. Now she will never return to the realm of the living. I'm so glad you weren't harmed." I looked at Lisa and asked, "Did you really enchant me?" She didn't answer. I paid for her. Stay in the best room. Left her money for the journey back and went home. I no longer felt any love for this girl. She enchanted me, didn't tell me about the pregnancy. Perhaps the turn to the estate was planned in advance. I no longer knew what to think or believe. Okay, my soul would have been exchanged for Sophia's soul. But where would Lisa's soul go? Would it transfer to the child? Or was that child also a victim of the sorcerers, intended for Sophia's reincarnation? In any case, I was the victim, a pawn in someone else's game. They took me for a fool, brought me for slaughter. Within 3 days, I quit my job, wrote a power of attorney for the sale of my apartment to my best friend, and drove thousands of kilometers away to start a new life. I deleted all my social media accounts, closed my mailboxes, changed my phone number. Hopefully, I'll never hear about Lisa again.